and you just let her leave?
I mean, what was I supposed to do?
She is pregnant. You have to give her a little leeway. And
what?
I don't understand what's going on with the men in this family, where they don't understand that when you love someone, you don't just let them leave. You stop them.
Hey.
Okay, my bad.
Come back.
I'm sorry.
Come back.
You know, Calvin.
All right, House of Payne fans, this is kind of a follow-up video for my review of this week's episode, give and take, because, well, I had a lot to say in that review, and I didn't want that to be super long like my sister's one, so make sure you go ahead and like this video. Please hit subscribe, click the bell notification icon, and select all. That way you don't miss out whenever I post new content to the channel. And also follow me on my social media platforms. Links are in the description below. Now, it seems like I like to harp and, rag on Miranda, but let's be real. She deserves pretty much a majority of what fans say about her. And I thought that her role in this week's episode was completely unnecessary because, if nothing else, it just made me dislike her even more because of the fact that, kind of like on Sisters towards the end of the episode where Karen tried to lump in Zach and his abuse to her in the same token as Gary abusing Andy, when that's not the case whatsoever. Basically, Miranda tried to insert herself into the situation between Malik and Lisa. It's like, the line that just made me go, somebody needs to tell this heifer to get up out of here. Letting her leave is the same thing as kicking her out. I know I might get flack because I'm a man, and most people are probably going to be like, and I don't want to assume, but considering 80% of my audience is female, I just wanted to make it clear, like, don't think I'm biased or taking sides here, because if you've been watching my House of Payne videos, then you know this season I have not been a Malik fan at all. But when it came down to the situation involving the TV remote, then watch my review from last week, and you can tell that I'm Team Malik in this situation because he was the one he was the first one to bring up the word compromise. Go back to the beginning of the big game within the first few minutes. As soon as Lisa turned the channel and walked and just plopped on the couch, the first thing is like, babe, what are you doing? We need to compromise here. And now Malik was meant to be the bad guy in the episode. So a couple things. We get to Miranda. First of all, Ella pretty much playfully calls her out at the beginning of the episode for only wanting to help out with the clothing drive for a chance to see Calvin. And she doesn't deny it. I mean, she tries to play around the topic, but then it's like, oh, but you wouldn't be mad if he did come by. Nope. My issue with this, number one, last week you told CJ and Malik that you were going on a lunch date. That's why you brought Christian over to be watched by Janine. So then after the lunch date, you would be helping out Miss Ella with the clothing drive. So considering you went on that lunch date and now you are helping out with the clothing drive, what are you worried about Calvin for? Which I think just goes back to why she even told CJ and Malik, so they could tell Calvin, so that would probably increase his chances of coming by the house and then they would see each other. But Calvin has clearly moved on, yet she hasn't. So right there, I was annoyed with Miranda, but also with Ella because of the fact that she could easily just tell Miranda to kind of just, hey, it's clear that my son has moved on. I'll always love you, Miranda, because regardless of the divorce that still hasn't happened yet, you're still the mother of my grandchild. But Ella just hasn't flat out said, hey, you've tried to talk with him. He's clearly moved on. I think it's time for you to do the same. But that hasn't happened yet. So then we fast forward. To when Lisa comes over and, Ella quickly kind of not totally dismisses, but she doesn't automatically believe Lisa's story to be true about how Malik just kicked her out, because it's like, nah, that doesn't sound right. I want to hear their side of the story too. Well, his side of the story. And then Miranda is pretty much there just kind of nodding her head, adding unnecessary commentary to what Ella's trying to tell Lisa about compromise and everything. And Lisa kind of clapped back, is like, wait, aren't you divorced? Like, why are you even talking? I wholeheartedly agree because Miranda had no need to insert herself in that conversation. I think I made this comparison in my review where I said, like, if your parent or somebody's scolding you because you did something wrong, but then some stranger, like, let's say you're in a grocery store and your mom kind of snaps at you, and then somebody jumps, yeah, that's right, you better do what they say. And it's like, you have nothing to do with this. Or, like, if your parent is saying something, then your aunt or your grandparent jumps in, and then it's like, they have no reason to jump in, but you really can't say anything because you're a child. The whole disrespect, that's something that, you know, with the holidays coming up, I don't think that I'm going down to like my aunt's house where a bunch of people are on my dad's side, but I just feel like I haven't seen a bunch of those people in years. Don't want to get into it, I got multiple reasons why, but I just feel like I just love those memes, like Thanksgiving with black families or Christmas with black family, and it's nothing but like what is like Thanksgiving clapbacks or whatever. It's like I'm just at the age now where it's like, you know, I'm not going to show respect if you don't show respect, you know, that kind of thing. Not that I'm going to intentionally be rude, but it's like, don't call me out of my name or something and then expect me to, you know, be nice. No. So I just feel like Miranda had no business trying to give advice unless it was helpful, as opposed to just, if she was giving some insight in regards to like pregnancy and whatnot, then yeah. But in terms of relationship, no. Or at the very least, recognizing her fault in things as opposed to just snapping back at men. Because if she would have said, hey, yeah, I know I'm going through a divorce now, but, you know, when I was married and pregnant, you know, here's kind of what we did. That's one thing. But to just sit up there and try to preach to somebody when you're foul, that doesn't make any sense at all. It's just like I say in Sisters, when, you know, Andy tries to say, you know, men ain't shit and I want to be loved. It's like, no, heifer, you put yourself in these situations by messing around with a married man who's an abuser while turning down all these good men who are single and available. So no, I don't feel bad for you. That's one of the biggest things that I feel like it doesn't annoy me as much that Andy is still in love with Gary, because that's, yeah, abusive relationships in general. But to constantly put down men because of what you're going through with a toxic man, that's just messed up, and I get tired of it. I feel the same way about Miranda. So now we go over to when Malik shows up, and Miranda said one of the most atrocious lines of the entire episode. Letting her leave is the same as kicking her out. What the fuck? That makes no sense to me whatsoever. Because as soon as she said that, it's like, you just left her. And then when Malik simply said, well, she took the remote and changed the channel. I told her, you know, I didn't like that, why I was wrong. She packed up her stuff and left. What was I supposed to do? You're supposed to go after her. It's like, see, that's the problem with you Payne, man. It's like, you let somebody pack up their stuff and leave, and then it's like, bitch, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that. But you go back to that last episode of House of Payne. Yes, Miranda and Calvin are going through a rough patch and money-wise and everything, but CJ and Calvin are trying to organize this, you know, nice dinner for their respective anniversaries. Miranda half-ass answered Calvin's questions, even though it was like a bit disgruntled. He was actually trying to make things work. She was the one that packed up her stuff. He was begging her not to leave, but she decided to go. So the fact that she had the nerve to tell off Malik, just, I can't. That was just completely unnecessary, and I hate this character. I loathe Miranda now even more than I did before, because I just cannot stand her. I cannot stand her. So in my review, I've already talked about the Ella situation, why I feel like she was completely out of line. The first half of the episode, I was cheering for Ella. She called out Miranda. She called out Lisa. She was giving sound advice about talking down to Lisa. But at the same time, as soon as Malik came over, it's almost like she switched gears. Instead of hearing Malik out and being reasonable, she just chastised him and made him apologize, but nobody made Lisa apologize. And that's my main issue. So Miranda can have several seats. I completely hate this character, and I wish she would be written off the show. And I know a lot of people are like, Jeremy, you know, at this point, Calvin and Miranda will probably get back together. I pray they don't, but it wouldn't surprise me with Tyler Perry writing, because there have been no redeeming qualities about Miranda this season at all. I feel like she's been... I was happy when she was first announced to be coming back, because I really wanted to see what was next with the marriage, or divorce, if you will. But the Miranda we have now, I do not care for her at all. I don't. She wasn't the greatest character in the original series. But at the same time, during the marriage with Calvin, I could see both sides being wrong and foul, where one person was trying to give, just like the episode title. When one person was trying to give, the other person was trying to take. Or maybe not necessarily take. When Calvin or Miranda was trying to actually help the marriage grow and give, the other person wasn't taking the olive branch to help them out. They weren't. So I just feel like if Tyler Perry doesn't write Miranda any better, I don't think she should be written into the show at all. She should just be written out. So I just feel, based on some episode synopsis, if Miranda just, I don't know, gets it through her head that Calvin has moved on, then she'll probably make the divorce even worse than it is now. Because even though in episode 8, well, what was that episode from Heart to Heart? Yeah, we're not going to talk about them kissing at the loft at all. That just completely went away. Nope, we didn't. So there we go. All right, sorry to ramble on, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Am I being too hard on Miranda, or do you agree with everything I said? And do you think, Jeremy, you didn't go hard enough? Just like, dang. I mean, hey, I had to worry about YouTube ad revenue because I did use some foul words here, but I was just annoyed watching the episode. But overall, let me know your thoughts. Make sure you like and subscribe. And if you'd like to donate to the channel, feel free to do so on PayPal, Cash App, or join Patreon for as little as $1 a month.